Honey, did you send my mom some of your sweet potato pie this week?
Yeah, I did. Why do you ask?
Well, she said that it was all rotten on the inside. She said that she got such a bad stomachache from it that she was taken to the emergency room.
Really? This again? Your mom is the one who sent those sweet potatoes to me in the first place, and I baked them into the pie as soon as I received them. So there's no way that they could have gone bad so quickly.
Are you sure that none of the other ingredients have expired? I'm sure there was something in there that made my mom sick.
But we ate the pie too, and we're completely fine.
Oh, yeah? That is strange then.
You have to admit that this wouldn't be the first time that she's taken herself to the emergency room for something that's not that much of a big deal. Remember last time when she said that she slipped and fell down the stairs and made a big fuss about having to go to the emergency room? And then in the end, there was absolutely nothing wrong with her? Falling down the stairs at her age should have resulted in hairline fracturing in an arm or a leg at the very least. But miraculously, she came out of the whole thing with just a tiny little bruise on her toe. The doctor said that she must have just stubbed it somewhere and that she most likely did not fall down the stairs, didn't he?
Well, that's...
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Did you also forget about the time she called me up saying she spilled boiling water on herself and caused a huge scene saying she had third-degree burns and we needed to call 911 immediately? And then it turned out that she had just decided to make herself some onion rings and the oil spat on her a little. She is the kind of person who likes to cry wolf and make something out of nothing.
So are you saying that my mom going to the emergency room is just nothing? And in all of those cases, she did actually get hurt. It wasn't just exactly on the scale that she originally described. And she's an old lady all by herself. Any of those things could have feasibly happened to her.
Stop acting like she's nothing but some frail, defenseless old lady. She's calculating and she's perfectly aware of what she's doing. She just likes to be the center of her son's attention. She doesn't care about anyone else at all. You know, in the whole 20 years we've been married, she's never once given even $30 worth of an allowance to either of our kids. I never really expected her to be good to me, but she should have at least acted like a proper grandmother to her grandchildren. Then I wouldn't have complained. Whenever our kids did well in school, she never once congratulated them. She never came to any award ceremonies, school plays, or graduations. And she doesn't even say happy birthday to them. I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't even know when their birthdays are. Don't go expecting me to feel sorry for the old bat, because I don't.
Well, we always made sure our kids had everything they wanted, so why would they need money from their grandparents on top of that? Have you been eyeing up her money?
Of course not! How can you say something so ridiculous? Plenty of grandmas in the world give money to their grandchildren regularly because they want to, not because they're expecting anything in return.
Oh, for goodness sake. What's the point in even being like this? As you said yourself, this isn't my mom's first time acting up. You should be used to it by now. Just put up with it like you have been all these years. If you carry on putting up with her behavior, then everything will be peaceful and we can all get along without any problems.
I've put up with it for 20 years already and I'm still holding it all in now. Are you really telling me to put up with it for even longer? Do you think I'm some kind of saint just because I keep putting up with it? I'm only human. I've been driven to the brink of insanity and back by your mom already, and I'm telling you now that I'm not going to deal with it anymore. Even if it kills me.
Well, what are you going to do then? What can you do at this stage except put up with it? You said you were willing to for the sake of our kids, didn't you?
Well, I've had enough. I'm telling you, don't push me to the point where I cross the line. You always do this. You believe everything your mom says as if it's the gospel and you take everything out on me. You just treat everything I say as nonsense, as if I'm only saying it because I don't like your mom.
Okay, fine. Let's stop here for now, okay? You'll wake everyone up if you keep yelling like that. Anyway, I'm just popping out.
Where are you going at this hour?
To smoke a cigarette because you're stressing me out here.
Oh dear, what on earth is wrong with your hair? I'm sorry, what do you mean? Even if you are a washed-up middle-aged woman now, you should still put some effort into taking care of yourself, you know. You're not even 50 yet, and somehow you look even older than I do. Do you not get tired of always having your hair in the same style? Well, I'm trying to save every penny I've got, so I haven't got the money to go out to the hair salon whenever I like for a style change.
There you go again, going on and on about money, money, money. You would think that you're the only one who earns money for our family.
We need to save so that my husband doesn't get too worn out. After all, we don't know how long he can keep doing hard work.
Oh, goodness. You really are a loyal wife. But how much can you actually save by doing that?
Well, if you're that worried about our family's financial situation, you should help us out a little as well. We give you a fair amount of money each month, you know.
What? Oh, so are you saying that I've always been a bother and a drain on your finances now, are you? You haven't been giving my son a hard time about this, have you?
Oh, don't you worry about that. He's not the sort of person who would listen even if I did try and give him a hard time.
You leave my poor son alone. At this rate, he's going to be working right up until the day he dies to keep his family clothed and fed. Aren't you in a comfortable position knowing that he's always going to be able to provide for you? It's not like you came from the richest of families or anything either. When did they ever help you out with anything?
You're acting like I rely on him, but both of us are working and earning money, you know. And why do you keep bringing up my family circumstances all the time?
Well, your parents both died without doing anything to help out their children, didn't they? You never received anything from your mom who died in childbirth, did you? And even your dad, who died not that long ago, didn't leave you any inheritance, did he? They failed at being parents at the end of the day, didn't they? Whereas when my husband died, God rest his soul, he left our son this house. That's what a parent should do. A real parent makes sure that their children are provided for in the future, no matter what.
Well, if my parents had anything to give me in the first place, I'm sure they would have done. It's not that they chose not to help me out. It's that they didn't have the means to help me out. But I grew up knowing that I was loved. And to me, that's more important than any amount of money.
People always go on about love when they have no money in a desperate attempt to compensate.
You always say things like this. You always say that my family was good for nothing and couldn't provide anything for me. You even told me not to pay for my dad's medical bills because I should be spending that money on my husband and kids instead. And you even told me not to go and look after him when he was sick because my duty as a wife and mother was greater than my duty as a daughter. I had such a hard time because of you. And now you're going to speak ill of the dead like that blatantly to my face.
What? Does being dead absolve you of having been useless in life? Does your dad being dead change the fact that he was poor?
Why do you always have to make this about money? I paid for my dad's medical bills with my money and my money alone. I didn't touch a single penny of your precious son's money. And if I'm being honest, I've spent way more on giving you a monthly allowance over the years than I did on my dad's medical bills.
Well, most of your money is my son's anyway. And as his mother, I'm more than entitled to it.
I see. So if we're going to start making claims based on blood relations here, then how come you've never been a real grandmother to your precious son's kids?
What do you mean by that? I'm a great-grandma. You really do think of all sorts of things to say to me.
You threw them outside in the cold when they were still toddlers just because they got in a little disagreement with each other. They could have frozen to death. Emma almost got frostbite on her toes.
How dare you raise your voice at me like that?
This is all learned behavior from you, you know. Ever since I married into this family, all you've ever done is yell at me. And now I feel like my hearing is going to be the first thing to go. And what was it you said about what made someone a real parent? It seems you view the parent-child relationship purely in terms of money. I'm sorry, but I'm not someone who only sees everything as a transactional relationship. I am just grateful to my parents for the love and support they gave me.
I don't get why you're making such a fuss about this.
Oh, so that's why my husband acts the way he does then. He avoids coming to see you unless it's to talk about money or his inheritance. I guess because you raised him with the belief that parent-child relationships are all about money, he's grown up only seeing you as a money machine and not as a mother. I guess you raised both of your sons like that, huh? In that case, I suppose you can't really expect either of them to do anything for you in your old age unless they're going to get something out of it. Huh?
Don't drag my sons into this. If it wasn't for you, my Ian would be living a great life right now. Just look at my John. He had the sense to marry a woman from a good family, and now he's living nice and comfortably. All of his kids have great jobs as well. But as for your kids, are they going to do in the future? They don't have their mother's wealth to fall back on now, do they?
Well, I for one believe that they will grow up to be even better adults than certain people who only got to where they are because of their mother's wealth. If you're not going to be a good grandma to them, then don't even bother worrying about my children's future, okay? And if you talk badly about my dad one more time, I'm going to kick your precious son out of the house, and I mean it. If you don't want to see your son pathetically grow old all by himself, then you should be a little more careful about what you say.
How dare you say such a thing? I've never met a nastier woman in my entire life. These 20 years have turned you bitter and mean. You are definitely not the daughter-in-law I ordered back then.
Ian, I can't take this anymore.
Are you crying? What's wrong with you now?
Do you know what your mom said to me today? She was talking badly about my dead parents and also directly insulted me to my face. How much more of this am I going to have to put up with? How much further is she going to push me?
She really has crossed a line there. She should know that you shouldn't speak ill of the dead, no matter what the circumstances. I'll talk to her about this. I'll call her up right now and tell her that it's not okay for her to go around saying things like that. So stop crying now, okay?
Would you not be upset if you were in my situation? Because of your mom, I wasn't able to be by my dad's side until the end. It was all because of her.
I know. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Ian. What are you doing calling me at this time?
What on earth is wrong with you, Mom?
What are you talking about?
I heard you said some pretty nasty things to my wife earlier today.
Well, she said even nastier things to me. What was I supposed to do?
Do you even know what she said to me? Whatever she said to you, it was no excuse for you to start talking badly about her parents like that. God rest their souls. I'm sure that she was just retaliating after you said those things to her.
Are you really taking her side over mine right now?
She's my wife, Mom. She's your daughter-in-law. Please, can you just stop treating her like this? What has she done to deserve this, huh?
I can't believe you're treating your poor old mother like this right now. Do you know how hard I worked to raise you? You were always my favorite child, you know. I put more energy into you than I put into your brother.
Well, if I really am your favorite child, you should stop bullying and looking down on my wife. Insulting her is basically the same as insulting me. You've never once insulted Sarah, have you?
Well, that's because Sarah does well for herself and always has done.
Oh, really? I don't think so. All she did was have the good fortune to be born into a rich family, and she won you and Dad over with money. She never lifts a finger at family gatherings and makes Marilyn do it all, when all she does is sit around doing nothing. Do you really think that I didn't notice these things?
Well, that's...
You just let her get away with doing whatever she likes because of her money, don't you? I'm sick and tired of your behavior now, and I'm warning you to please just stop it already.
I can't believe my own son is turning against me like this. It's all because of her, isn't it? She's been whispering things in your ear to make you hate me. Well, I don't know what she's told you, but you haven't seen firsthand what she has been doing and saying.
What do you mean by she? She has a name, you know. A perfectly good name. It's Marilyn. I really don't appreciate you calling her and she all the time like that.
What's going on here? For the first time ever, he's actually taking my side against his mom. Does he have a death wish?
Why are you looking at me like that?
Oh, it's nothing. Hi, Marilyn. So I heard you had a big fight with Philomena and you went and dragged Ian into it as well. Do you have any idea how angry she was?
Did Philomena tell you her side of the story? Well, she probably told you that the whole thing was my fault, right?
You know, Marilyn, the more I see you, the more I realize that you really don't know how to go on. If you don't have anything material to offer, you should get good at flattery instead. It's not good to get on the bad side of the family elders, you know. Look at me. I have no trouble with Philomena because I give her what she loves most in the world. Money. I think it's less wasteful to just fight and express my emotions, rather than living as a lackey like you and suppressing my feelings. And what exactly is it that makes you believe that's the best way to go on? Do you have some kind of secret riches hidden away somewhere? Do you secretly own some property out in the sticks? Or you have $1 million in cash hidden under the mattress or something?
No, I do not.
So then why can't you learn to be a little more flexible for your own sake, more than anything? The so-called confidence of those who have nothing to show for it is just stubbornness and bravado. If you're going to act up, at least know your place, Marilyn. I know that you and I are not related in any way whatsoever, but I still want to give you this advice. I feel a little sorry for you as another woman married into this family.
I appreciate your concern, but I'm not going to be heeding any of your advice. From where I stand, you and Philomena are 6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
What?
Well, of course money is important, and whether you choose to live a life completely centered around money or not is none of my concern. Just please don't force me to become like you, because believe me, that is the last thing I want for myself.
It's fine to be cocky, but you should know your limits. It seems like you haven't been burned by money yet, have you? Have you still not realized that it's because you don't have any money that you've had to endure this treatment from Philomena for the past 20 years? Have you really not felt it? Do you not have a brain or something? Have you completely lost your mind? How dare you hit me like that?
You're just asking for another slap, aren't you? If you say one more word, I will do it again. I'm warning you.
Excuse me? You can't hit me.
You needed it. Someone should really knock some sense into you. You shouldn't go around thinking that the way you see the world is the be-all and end-all. Do you not realize that I was even admitted to a mental hospital because of Philomena's behavior? Obviously, the reason that she's good to you is because of money as well. It's not because she likes you as a person or anything like that. You're the one who doesn't seem to know what's going on.
Oh, you want me to slap you back, don't you?
Just stop this already, okay?
Don't try and stop me.
Get out of my house already. My kids will be arriving soon, and the only good thing I've managed to pass down to them is strength, so we can easily throw someone like you aside. If you don't want to get thoroughly beaten to a pulp, I suggest that you stop trying to provoke me and get out of my house.
Oh my gosh, what is wrong with you? Don't you dare push me! How come you're this strong? I'm going to make it so that nothing good ever happens to you. Do you understand me? I'm going to make you regret ever treating me like this.
My mom has gained a lot of weight in the past 6 months. When I went to see her last week, she could barely walk properly. Well, I'll take her to the hospital then. She keeps saying she doesn't want to go to the hospital because she's worried they'll say she won't be able to work on the farm anymore. She has 2 perfectly able-bodied sons who can help out with the farm whenever possible, so I don't really see what the problem is. Now is the time for you and your brother to step up and do your part for her. Are you implying that we haven't been doing our part for her all these years? I'm just being honest with you, that's all. Ugh, whatever. I will take her to the hospital today and I'll probably eat dinner out, so don't bother cooking for me tonight. Okay, sure. Maybe I'll take the kids out for dinner tonight as well. Hello?
Marilyn, where are you right now?
I'm at home. Why do you ask?
Why have you been ignoring my calls? Did Ian not tell you what's going on?
What? I haven't heard anything.
Oh my. Your husband must really cherish you, even though you're not much to look at. You need to come over to Philomena's house right this second.
But I don't want to.
What did you just say?
Sorry, but I have plans.
I want to be nice to you, but I just can't right now. Don't you realize that this is the right time? You need to make a good impression on Philomena so that she doesn't give you an even harder time.
I told you that there's no need to worry about me, and yet you still keep sticking your oar in.
Hurry up and get over here! Having to deal with her on my own is far too stressful. I really shouldn't have to be running around after her at my age.
Well, if you don't want to look after her, just hire a nurse or something. I'm sure you have the money, right?
That crazy old lady says she doesn't want any strangers touching her. She keeps asking me to scrub her back, and it's really disgusting.
Well, why don't you just shut her up with money like you always do?
You were always bragging about how any problem can be solved with money. So why are you looking to me right now? You're her daughter-in-law too. I shouldn't be the only one suffering. But she likes you the best, remember? Doesn't that make you so happy? Every daughter-in-law dreams of being her mother-in-law's favorite, surely. Don't mess with me right now. Oh, the kids are here. Sorry, Sarah, but I'm going to have to hang up now. Hey! You can't just hang up on me like that!
Hey, honey.
What is it?
My mom really can't walk anymore and she can barely move her body. I think maybe it's time we put her in a care home. She's also been struggling with her breathing and there aren't many things that she can do by herself anymore. From now on, it's going to be impossible for her to carry out her daily tasks without help, I think.
Huh, really? It's been a while since I last saw her, so I had no idea that things were that bad.
Why are you saying that as if it's something to be proud of? You're part of the family too, and you should know these things.
Ah, should I?
Yes. And now I think it's the time that you let bygones be bygones and come with me to visit my mom. What do you say?
I'm sorry, what?
No matter how you feel about her, she's still your mother-in-law and she's still my mom. I'm not asking you to come and see her every day. Just 2 to 3 times a month at the weekend would be more than enough. My brother and Sarah would go the other weekend so that she would pretty much always have family visiting. With my dad not being around anymore and everything, this must be a really scary experience for her. And besides, showing your elders a bit of respect isn't a bad thing.
I really can't believe what I'm hearing. So at the end of the day, you really aren't going to take my side here, huh? And what do you mean, showing your elders a bit of respect isn't a bad thing? Are you saying that she should get off scot-free for treating me like that all those years just because she's an elder? I'm sorry, but I believe that respect is something that needs to be earned, and it isn't something that you're automatically owed because of your age. Anyone who curses out my dead parents doesn't deserve my respect in my book.
Well, that's...
And as you just said, she's your mom, not mine. If you care about her so much, then you can go and visit her by yourself. Or even better, you can get yourself a little apartment just for the two of you and you can become her full-time carer. Don't try and drag me into this, because I want no part of it.
Wow, you really have no heart, do you? I think I know why my mom was so mean to you before. How could you be so selfish? An elderly woman is sick and all you can think about is how you don't want to let go of your old grudges from the past.
It would be one thing if it was an isolated incident in the past, but it wasn't. She's never going to learn not to treat me like that, so I would rather just not be around her. Do you think I really am a selfish, horrible person? Of all people, you're the one who should know more than anyone what I've had to go through because of your mom. So I really don't think that you should be talking to me like this.
Why are you trying to make me into the bad person here? And besides, when your dad was ill, I went to see him as often as I could.
No, you did not. That's a blatant lie and you know it. You only went to see him once after he fell ill, and that was basically when he was on his deathbed. If you want us to be even, then I will also go and see your mom when she's on her deathbed. And that's it.
Well, it was just because I found it so uncomfortable. I didn't know what to say to him.
You don't go and visit a sick old person to have scintillating conversation now, do you? You go to make sure they're okay and make them feel comforted.
Well, fathers-in-law and sons-in-law don't normally have that kind of close relationship.
Does it really have to be that way? What did my dad ever do to you to make you want to hold him at arm's length?
I want to ask you the same thing. What has my mom done to make you hate her so much?
Many things.
What?
Like, for example, when my dad passed away. She said that her legs hurt and she didn't even come to the funeral.
Well, that's perfectly feasible if you ask me.
And also when my brother died suddenly at 38. She also didn't come to the funeral because she said that it was bad luck to go to the funeral of someone younger than you.
Well, that's...
And when my dad was still alive, she would complain if I ever spent the holidays with him, saying that there was no point in wasting my time with him when he still wasn't at an age where he needed to be looked after and that my in-laws should be my priority. She would always say, "You can just go the next day." But when the next day came around, she was still determined to stop me from leaving. So I ended up spending most holidays without seeing my dad.
And I apologized for all of that, didn't I?
And then let's not forget our son's first birthday. She wanted to throw a party for him, but he was sick, so we couldn't go. So she called me up and said, "Oh, wow, it must be so nice for you to have a sick baby if it means you get to have a nice long rest, huh?" Do you not remember any of these things? And it wasn't just with our son, was it? The first time I went to her house after I had our daughter, some of your dad's siblings were also visiting. Your mom came up to me while I was changing diapers and accused me of doing nothing but staring at the baby instead of working. She even threw the diaper back at me, saying I must be happy to use the child as an excuse to slack off.
And back then I had a word with her on your behalf about that, didn't I?
Well, if you just saying a few words would have worked on her, then she would have learned her lesson and knew not to do anything like that again. But when it comes to me, anything you say to her is like water off a duck's back. She was always comparing our kids with your brother's kids, and she was always cursing me out to the other ladies in the neighborhood because I apparently didn't call her enough or visit her often enough.
Well, you should have called and visited more if you didn't want her to say those things about you.
Well, if I called her or went to see her, all she would do is insult me. So why should I put myself through that? I haven't done anything wrong as far as I'm aware. It's just that your mom doesn't like me and never has, so I've been doomed from the start. If I ever couldn't go over to her place when we were scheduled to because I was ill, she would make snide comments about me being conveniently ill all the time and things like that. Do you think she always had a reason to speak to me like that? In your eyes, am I really the terrible, selfish person that she thinks I am?
Honestly, I swear I must be the unhappiest man in the world. Why do none of you ever take my feelings into consideration? Why do you never think about what it must be like to be stuck in the middle like this? This is a problem between you and my mom, and it doesn't concern me. So why do I need to get stressed out about it along with you?
If you don't like the situation that much, let's just wait until the kids all go to college and then we can split up.
What did you just say?
If you don't want to be stuck looking after your mom by yourself, you had better get your act together. Hello?
Hi, Marilyn. It's me, Philomena.
I see.
What are you doing right now? Are you busy?
No, I'm not busy right now. I just arrived at work and I'm making myself a coffee before I start my work for the day.
Ah, I see. So you obviously don't really have much to do at work, do you?
I just told you that I haven't even started working yet. I literally arrived 20 minutes early just so I can sit down and have my coffee. Why do you have to get on my case every time I take any kind of break?
Well, it's nice to hear that you're nice and comfortable at work. Anyway, when am I going to get to see you again?
I'm not sure. I haven't found a day that will be convenient yet.
I know that you hate me, but despite everything, we're still family, aren't we? Maybe it's because I haven't seen you in a while now, but I've actually started to miss you. So why don't you come over and visit me when you have some time?
Even if I went to see you, what would be the point? We'll just end up getting into another argument like we always do. And besides, you always called me more useless than a stick used to clean up poop, saying I was worthless. But now you're asking that useless stick to do something for you?
Whenever did I say something like that?
You've been saying things like that to me for the past 25 years. You never cared whether my kids were in the room or whether we were around strangers. You would never hesitate to insult and belittle me.
Well, that's all in the past now.
I see that your memory must be deteriorating as well now, huh? You literally called me a useless stick the day before you went into the home, you know.
Well, that's because I just kind of got used to it and it became a habit. It's become kind of like an affectionate nickname for you.
There's nothing affectionate about a nickname like that. Don't make me laugh. You called me a worthless woman who would be better off dead on the phone just last year, you know. I don't know if it all seems hazy and in the past to you, but I remember every single insult you've said to me over the past 25 years that I've been married to your son. They say that you never forget your most painful memories, and the memories with you in them are some of the most painful of all. And I think I will carry them to my grave.
Yes, I know that you're very upset with me. I suppose I must have been like that because I was much younger and more immature. The truth is that my mother-in-law was harsher on me than I have been on you, and I suppose I was subconsciously treating you like I was treated because that's what I knew a relationship between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law to be.
If that were the case, then you would have acted that way towards Sarah as well, since she's been married to John for longer than I've been married to Ian. But you've never so much as raised your voice at her, have you? Why was it that it was only when I married into the family that your trauma from your own mother-in-law suddenly resurfaced? Huh? Please just stop making excuses. Okay, fine. I'm sorry. I'll give you a proper apology in person. So just come over and see me as soon as you have some free time. I don't need you to apologize. I don't think any apology can make up for the amount of pain I've gone through over the last 25 years because of you. I need to receive a 25-year-long apology. An apology that can be made in a day isn't going to be sufficient enough for me. So I don't want to hear it. Although I severely doubt that you're going to be around for another 20 years. Excuse me? Do you think I don't know what you're really like? You don't even sincerely feel like apologizing to me, do you? You just want me to come and take care of you now that you're old and sick, isn't that right? Knowing you don't think that the care you're getting at the home is sufficient enough, and you want your own personal little slave to wait on you hand and foot, changing your adult diapers, bathing and feeding you. And who better to do that than the daughter-in-law you've already treated like a slave for the past 25 years? Well, I think it's a bit harsh for you to say something like that. I'm not looking for a slave. I'm just asking you, as a family member, to come and help me out in my old age. Let me ask you something, Philomena. Do you trust me? Why would you ask that all of a sudden? Do you know that I'm still taking medication for mental illness because of all the stress and anxiety you cause me? If you give me the task of looking after you, I might spread poop on your toast in the morning, telling you that it's chocolate spread. Why would you ask me to look after you when you know that I have it in for you? What? You can't be serious. My hatred for you is so intense that I've become a total psychopath. I might use taking care of you as an opportunity to exact my revenge, you know. Hearing this makes you feel uneasy, doesn't it? So don't ask me to look after you. I'm not in my right mind, you see. Why don't you ask Sarah instead, who is nice, well-to-do, and perfectly sane? Unlike me, who has to work my butt off just to pay bills and feed my family. She gets to lounge around at home all day without any responsibilities. But Marilyn! I have nothing to gain from looking after you, so I'm not going to go out of my way to be nice to you. That's the reason you've hated me all these years, right? Because I didn't bring family wealth with me like Sarah did. You mistreated me and tossed me to the side because you couldn't get anything out of me. So now I'm going to give you the exact same treatment. The only thing that I can do for you right now is to tell you to lose some weight. I know someone who kept gaining weight to the extent that they broke their ankle while going to the bathroom. That then led to a hip joint problem, and complications set in, so they passed away within 2 years. If you want to live longer, you had better learn how to look after yourself. How dare you say such a thing to me? Listen, a broken vase needs to be carefully wrapped in thick layers of newspaper and then properly thrown away. No matter how valuable it was in the first place, once it's broken, it can't be made to look like new again. You have crossed the line with me one too many times. In fact, I think the line isn't even visible anymore because you're so far away from it. If this is all you wanted to talk about, then you might as well have not bothered and conserved your phone bill instead. Anyway, I need to go to work now, so I will be hanging up. Hey! Marilyn! Sarah isn't even picking up my calls anymore! Who is going to stay by my side in my old age? Everything hurts! It hurts, I'm telling you! Ever since my mother-in-law went into the care home, I didn't go to see her a single time. Before that, I hadn't even seen her in around 2 years, so it didn't really seem like much of a big deal to just prolong not seeing her. Thankfully, she doesn't try to contact me anymore. But I do occasionally get calls from my sister-in-law bugging me to go and do my duty as a daughter-in-law. She even comes over to the house to berate me sometimes, and we always end up having huge arguments. But I've learned a thing or two from her, so after a while I started pretending that I would go to shut her up. But really, I wasn't making any effort to see my mother-in-law at all. It seems like my sister-in-law's blood pressure is rising dangerously because of this, and it might not be long before she's side by side with my mother-in-law. As for my husband, He's already given up on trying to make me reconcile with his mom and has accepted that this is just the way things are. Now he barely even talks about his mom in front of me and just goes to visit her on his own. Now we live pretty separate lives, and we don't interact with each other too much anymore. As I said before, I'm planning on divorcing him as soon as the kids are in college. In the meantime, I am taking online courses and preparing myself for the divorce and my life after. Now I don't really feel any anger or resentment anymore. Even though this isn't the ideal situation, I know that I'm on the road to finally living a peaceful, stress-free life, and that makes me happy. I wasted my younger years making sacrifices for my mother-in-law, my husband, and my kids. But now I'm finally going to live for myself and not for others. This is the end of the story. Thank you for listening.